Hey guys, I'm Nathan. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today I'm going to be talking about my experience of moving out for college. So if you want to get to that, just skip to this timestamp. In the meantime, I'm going to give a personal life update, but if you don't care about that, just skip to this timestamp right now. So I first wanted to say that I really enjoyed making my last video, even though it was really long, and honestly, it didn't take that much time as you may think. So I really enjoy making YouTube videos, just college has been very chaotic, especially for my first ever semester. So I do really want to make more YouTube videos next year. I'm never going to commit to a schedule. I think I did like 4 years ago or something, but right now it's just not possible, so I hope you're able to understand that. But I am on my winter break right now, so I would like to make at least 1 or 2 more videos besides this one. So if you have any video ideas or topics that you'd like me to cover, just leave them down in the comments, because even though I do have some things I'd want to talk about already, if there's something that someone in my audience wants me to cover, I might just cover that instead, because at least someone actually wants to see it. So I thank you all for my patience of not really, knowing when to expect a video from me, but just I like making YouTube videos. I don't care if this never becomes my job. I just like sharing my experience with you guys, and I'm glad you enjoy it too. I am thinking of rebranding for the new year, because now that I am 18, I can make my own decisions really. But I never had my name really connected to my channel for the last few years because, I was a minor and I guess just privacy things. But now that I'm an adult, I think I am more comfortable having at least my first name be part of my YouTube channel, so I am considering kind of rebranding away from the what I do stuff. If you have any name suggestions, let me know. I don't really have anything in mind right now, but that's pretty much it. So now let's get into the video of why I moved out for college and my experiences. So at least right now, I live in Southern California with my family because it's like winter break right now. But I go to college in Northern California, and the reason I chose to go there is because the college I chose has the major that I really liked, which is public relations. A lot of the colleges near me, where I could have stayed at home, they do have communications, but I really like the focused aspect of public relations, and the college I chose just, has that specific major along with the more general communications major. So that was one thing that kind of was part of my consideration, just like what the college has to offer me. And even though I go to a California State University, and there is a California State University very close to me, but it doesn't have that public relations major that I really wanted. So that was one of the reasons why I decided to move for college. Basically just because I liked, the college. Number 2 is because I live with a really big family. So my parents are divorced, and both of them have gone remarried, and one of them I lived with basically full-time for the last few years. So I have 2 biological siblings and then 2 step-siblings at this house, so that means there's 5 of us kids total, and then, my dad and stepmom. So it's a family of 7, and so I love all of my siblings, and I love my parents, but it gets very chaotic at times where, as just a family of 7 even, it gets kind of complicated doing things, and I can't even imagine how it would be for, those family vloggers that have, 10 kids, which, first of all, it's what are you doing having 10 kids? But also, it's how are you doing almost anything normally as a family? They probably aren't. But I just live with I've lived with so many people that I wanted to see what it would be like living alone, because that's just something I've never experienced, and I really wanted to try it for the first time to, learn some new things, make sure, dive headfirst into, personal responsibility and adulting, kind of, in some ways, because in other ways I don't really have to deal with the other adulting things that people who move out at 18 have to deal with. For example, I live in a relative's house for free, so I don't have to worry about rent or utilities. I basically just have to worry about, getting groceries and stuff. So I'm very fortunate for that. And if that was not the case, I also probably wouldn't have moved, even though the college I chose has my specific major. The dorms are so expensive that like it would have added more to my student loans, and so I'm very grateful that I don't have to spend a lot of money, living alone off campus. Again, if I did have to like rent an apartment with roommates, or live in the dorms with roommates, I probably wouldn't have chosen to go to the college, and I probably would have just stayed at home and gone to a college way more close to me. Another thing is that I really liked the campus. So as I said, the main reason is probably just because I can live off campus with like very low financial responsibility. So just keep that in mind. Since I had that option, then I was able to be like, oh, I like this college in the area, or I like this college in the area. So the college I chose to go to was the only one that I toured. So to be fair, the other colleges that I had in mind, even though 2 of them I've been on their campus, I haven't gotten a real tour of. But the college I chose to go to, it literally rained the day that we toured it, and it was like in April. And here's the thing, I love the rain and I love trees, and this campus in Northern California has so many trees, and it's just such a vibe when it rains that I was like, I really feel like committing to this college right now. Even though it rained and thunderstormed during the whole tour, that was just something I really enjoyed. So I really like the campus. It has like a gym that, you still have to pay like a gym utility fee included in your tuition, but it's not like some monthly thing you have to worry about. I already touched on this a little bit, but I really wanted to try something new and like living alone and seeing what that would be like, because even though I've had a lot of like chores and responsibilities while living with my family like in high school, I've just never really lived alone, and I've always kind of maybe not dreamed about it, because it's not like I have like a bad relationship with my family. It's not the thing where I'm like, oh, I can't wait to leave. It's not that. It's just I've always wanted to try it and see what it's like, and now that I have tried it, I'm really glad that I did. Now that I touched on why I decided to move, I'm going to give you some pros and cons. So the first thing I could think of was little chores around the house. So like I said, at my dad's house, I live with 6 other people, and I was given an allowance for doing a lot of chores. So like taking out the trash when it gets full, loading and unloading the dishwasher, being in charge of feeding, my dogs. And while you may say, and like you may believe that everyone in the family should contribute to these things, I honestly didn't really mind it, because again, I got a pretty good weekly allowance, first of all, and second of all, I can also recognize how hard other people in my family work. Like my sister's a competitive dancer, my other siblings are in college and with jobs, my dad owns and runs a small business, and my stepmom is like a special education teacher at a public school. It's like all of these things, I can recognize how hard my siblings work and why they aren't either willing to or able to contribute way of like doing chores and stuff. And so because I love being an overachiever and I love money, I was like, oh, I'll do these things and sure, I'll get an allowance. Now that I've moved out, now I only have to take the trash out like once a week, or maybe sometimes twice a week, instead of once in one day. And I only have to run the dishwasher once a day instead of sometimes 2 times a day. So little things like that where I just feel like it's less weight off my shoulders. Now, if you're not someone who is used to doing chores at home, I really hope you're able to adapt, because again, like dishes, trash, and then also if you're someone who is paying like on a monthly basis for where you live in utilities and stuff, you also need to make sure that like you're on top of your bills. Either you have auto pay set up, or you just have like something in your phone to remind you to pay those things on time. Number 2 is that I can really like pick and choose like my groceries, but also kind of like my day-to-day things. I live with 6 other people while I'm at my dad's house. So that means, it's not just my like dietary needs or like wants that are being met, it's also other people. And as someone who has been trying to lose weight for like a year and a half, even though I can see like, there's vegetables here, there's fruit here, I want to eat that. As long as there's still, unhealthy food around the house, I do think it gets a little hard to control myself. But since I've been living at home and I just grocery shop on a weekly basis of what I need this week, I can be like, oh, I'm getting eggs, I'm getting like this healthy bread brand that I really like, I'm getting these vegetables that I want to cook, I'm getting these fruits that I like, and I'm getting these like healthy snacks that I like. If you're someone who maybe like the food you eat, like it doesn't matter for you, and I understand that, but for me as someone who's trying to avoid getting diabetes in the future and also wanting to, you know, get a little healthier, I do think that like moving out has kind of helped me with that. But that also required like me mentally like creating the habit of healthy eating and working out before moving out. Because if you just move out without that habit and expect yourself to be able to hold yourself accountable with like eating healthy and going to the gym, if you don't have that habit before moving out, then I think it's kind of harder to even build that once you're living on your own, because then you also don't have people around you to keep yourself accountable when you can't hold yourself accountable. Number 3 is just that I've learned a lot about living alone. Like, you know, I need to make sure the heater's not on, the stove is not on, that, you know, I don't leave these lights on and I don't leave the sink running. And even though I've never done those things when living with my family, it still kind of makes it so that like it's all on me. So if something goes wrong, that's all on me. So it makes me more focused on making sure that like, you know, the house is all good when I leave for school. Like, I just think it's kind of helped me to build up my personal responsibility and my matureness of like being able to take care of myself. Now I'm going to go into the cons of me moving out. Some of these may not apply to you, and I think one of them doesn't even really apply to me, but I'm still bringing it up in case it'll be useful for you to consider, you know, if you should move out for college, or just honestly in general. Like, if you're not going to college, you know, this should still probably be helpful for you. So the first con was really my fault. I did not drive yet. So as I kind of already mentioned, I committed to my college in about like April, around that time, and I thought I would be able to get my license before then. Because of stuff with over the summer, you know, like pre-planned stuff that we already were going to do over the summer, I did not get my license before the first semester. So that means I had to go to school in an Uber. And buses where I live, like for college, they are available, but it's like an hour and a half, which, considering I already had like early classes, like at like 7:30 and 8 in the morning, that was just not possible, at least in the mornings. And then in the afternoon, I tried it again, and it just didn't really work out for me, because I thought when Apple, like the Maps route says like an hour and 30 minutes on the bus, I'm like, okay, I can do that. Like, I can read, I can listen to music, whatever. But what turned out is that it was only like 30 minutes on the actual bus, and then an hour of it was actually waiting for the next bus at a stop, and it was in this very sketchy area where I did genuinely feel unsafe. So that's when I was like, the cost of Uber might be worth it for my safety. And so if you're someone who can drive, this obviously doesn't apply to you, and I'm very grateful and fortunate for the fact that my family has been able to like financially support me in the ways that like scholarship and financial aid have come short of, you know, because Uber is very expensive. If I didn't have the support of my family, I wouldn't have been able to do that. And again, I did think I would have my license by college, but it just didn't turn out that way. Now I do have my license, and I got it like 2 weeks before my semester ended. So this isn't something I'll really have to worry about the next, you know, years of my college experience, but it's just something to consider. If you can't drive, like, you better be living in the dorms, okay? The second con was just that I felt very lonely at times. If you're living in a dorm and you have roommates that you like, or you have friends on your dorm level, or like just in the same dorm building, this will not apply to you. But if you're someone who wants to like just live alone off campus for college, just think about how lonely you may feel if you're comfortable feeling lonely at times. And there were times when I didn't feel good mentally because of how alone I felt. And definitely not driving, I think, like, made this even worse, because if I wanted to hang out with my friends somewhere, that meant I had to spend money on an Uber. Or if I had to go somewhere or wanted to go somewhere for like human interaction, that would cost money on an Uber. So I would just, use Uber for school. And I'm so grateful that my neighbor was able to take me to get groceries on the weekend. But it just meant that my interaction with other humans outside of school was very, very limited. So if you do want to move out off campus, honestly, if you can live with roommates and it makes sense for you financially, I think honestly getting roommates that you like and are friends with can be a really beneficial thing for you. If that isn't the case, just, feel free to reach out to your friends and family when you're feeling lonely. You don't have to feel that way 24/7, but it is something that you should be thinking about. Number 3 is the con of me living off campus on my own, is that I didn't have the dorm experience. At my college, from the people who do live in the dorms, I've heard that there's not that many parties going on, so I don't really feel like I've been missing out on that stuff either, because it's like, I'm just not very much a party person unless it's people that, like, pretty much at least, like, 90% of the people I know. Like, if it's just a ton of strangers, it's like, I'm not gonna have fun, why would I go? But, it's just like living with roommates and meeting new people naturally through living in a dorm that I did miss out on, and I didn't get to experience. But again, I kind of chose that because it made more sense for me financially to, like, not spend money on a dorm and, like, not add that to my student loans, because I can just live off campus for such a lower cost. But if you are someone that does want to do the dorm thing, I would recommend checking it out, just making sure that you're able to either choose your roommate, or, if you do have any problems with your roommate, that your college will be able to address that, appropriately. And number 4 is the cost. As I've already mentioned, I'm able to live off campus at a very low cost, but I did want to include this con in case it applies to anyone else, because, if you live in a harsh family environment, I understand why you want to move out as soon as you can. You need to consider the financial costs. Like, have you been saving up for this? Are you willing to, like, maybe go to school part-time and then, work really long hours outside of school to be able to afford to live on your own? Because I live in California, and everyone says it's really expensive to live here, which is true, but there are also great things that California has for the people who live here. Like, there's cool things to do, but it's still very expensive to live in California. So I don't know what state you're living in, but I think you should very much consider your financial situation, like how long you're willing to work and go to school at the same time, or if you've been saving, for the last few years working in high school, what can you afford with the money that you've saved, or with, the money that you're making right now. I don't think getting into debt at this early in your life is worth it just to move out. As I mentioned, if you're living in a very tough, like, family environment where you're being hurt or neglected or abused, I've never experienced that, and I feel very sorry that you're having to deal with that. And because I'm not experiencing that, I unfortunately don't have any advice for you, other than I really hope you have friends or family that are able to help you right now, and I hope that, you're able to move out and take care of yourself as soon as possible. I want to thank you all so much for watching this video. If you've moved out for college, and have a different experience for me, or any advice for other people, please leave that advice or comments down in the comment section. If you have any questions, I pretty much read every comment on my videos, so, just leave a question, I'll answer it if I can. And yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and see you guys in the next one. Bye!